So we know you as Inspector Alistair Johnson, which is your title, and you're also the leader of the Police Scotland National Motorcycle Unit, spread throughout Scotland. But the other thing we know you as Ali, and I think, is that the way you'd rather be referred to if we met you in the street, sort of thing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Ali's.
You're quite happy with that?
Quite happy with that. Alistair's my sort of Sunday name, or when I'm in real bother.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly if anybody's out there and sees me out and about, yeah, come up and speak to me. I'm Ali.
You're not going to shout at them because they're not giving you the Inspector Johnson bit?
No, not at all. No, not precious about rank.
Good stuff. I mean, having met a number of your team, I've found them all to be very relaxed, approachable, knowledgeable, bikers in their own time, passionate about safety, promoting motorcycling as a good thing to be involved in, as opposed to the view some people have where you're just out to try and make money for the government, but that's clearly that's not the case.
No, I mean, absolutely not the case. I think the thing for my unit, and any police biker in particular, is it's a real privilege to be able to ride a police motorcycle. We're all passionate about motorcycle safety, road safety, and we want to get out there and engage with as many motorcyclists as we can, pass the message about road safety. Don't get me wrong, sometimes we have to deal with things by enforcement, but ideally we don't want to go down that route. We want everybody to go out, enjoy the roads around Scotland, and have fun.
You're the leader of the Police Scotland National Motorcycle Unit.
Yeah, so inspector within the National Motorcycle Unit, and I've got officers throughout Scotland, and we deploy on motorcycles throughout the year.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously out on the road a lot in the course of your job, but you're bikers yourselves, off duty?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the big things, is the people within the unit, they're all bikers, they all love bikes, they've got their own bikes, they've all come from different backgrounds as well. Some are bikers through and through before they've joined the police. Some are actually police taught, like myself. I didn't own a bike before I joined the police, but the police taught me how to ride the motorcycle, and I was actually police taught.
And what are you on yourself? What's your own bike?
So I've got a Suzuki GSX 1000 GT, which I don't ride at all.
Right.
Sits in the garage and gathers dust.
Is that because you're on the police bike so much?
Yeah, absolutely. You're on the bike all the time. So when it comes to your days off, you're maybe not so excited about going out on the bike.
Yeah, I mean, I know that from our interaction with you, you're all over the place, literally all over Scotland and Northern Ireland. I just wondered if you could maybe give me some assistance when it comes to some of the common questions that we're asked. Filtering is a classic. So what's your take on when is it safe, when is it not safe?
Yeah, so I mean, that's probably one of the biggest questions we get asked, is about filtering. Filtering, it is legal to filter, but it has to be done safely. We see it, quite a lot where people maybe filter at excessive speed. That's where that sort of goes from filtering into dangerous or careless riding itself. So it has to be done safely. So generally, I mean, filtering is where you have two lanes of traffic that are fairly slow moving or stationary, and you're able to then filter between those lanes of traffic. But again, you have to do it safely. It is completely legal to do, but as long as you're doing it safely, if there's gaps in between the vehicles and the lanes, then potentially one of those vehicles may move from lane to lane.
Yeah.
And if you're going down the middle of that traffic, the last thing a car driver or lorry driver expects is a motorcycle to be going down. Yes, they should check the mirrors before they do that, but if you're carrying a fair bit of speed, then it sort of becomes unsafe to do it.
They often don't, because they see the gap and move to it.
Yeah.
But what would you say is is there an acceptable speed of that traffic to be moving before you can filter, or beyond which you shouldn't filter?
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing written down in law in terms of the speed. This is my own personal sort of take on it, that 10, 15, 20 miles per hour, probably 20 miles per hour is a bit too much, but it's fairly slow moving where the lanes of traffic are fairly well built up. There's no big gaps in between the vehicles, because as that speed begins to increase, that's when the gaps between the vehicles increase and people then begin to move about. So I mean, 10 to 15 miles per hour would be my sort of take on that, although there's nothing written down in law about it.
And another hazard that we all have when we're out on the bikes, potholes, surface dressing. I mean, you should get some warning with signage, but not always. If you come upon a bit of, poor road surface for whatever reason, what would your advice be, regardless of the flow of traffic around you? What would you be doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's no getting away from it. There are potholes, there are roads reinstatements across the roads in Scotland, but I think as riders we need to be on the lookout for that constantly, constantly assessing the road surface. One of the real big important things is don't, suddenly, move suddenly without, checking your mirrors to make sure there's nothing beside you. If you do move position, then generally what you might find is that the potholes will run generally in a line, because the potholes have been created by vehicles travelling on that road surface over time.
Yeah.
So you might find that those potholes are on that particular line.
Yeah.
So if you move position to avoid a pothole, don't then automatically move back to where you were, because there could be another pothole further ahead.
Excellent. And I personally ride my bike a lot of the time in rural areas as opposed to city. And what would you say to someone in a rural setting coming upon a junction, whether it's to the left, the right, or indeed a crossroads? What would you be looking for? Where would you be focusing?
Yeah, so I mean, junctions, we do unfortunately get quite a lot of junction collisions. So we're asking riders just to be careful as they approach junctions. If there is a junction maybe to your left and you have right of way, we would really expect the motorcyclist to move slightly over towards the right. That'll give them a better view into the junction, but it'll also give anybody at the junction a better view of them as they approach. Similarly, if it was maybe a junction on the right hand side of the road, then they would be moving across towards the left, just to equalise the danger between them and the junction itself.
Yeah. And I personally look well up into the roads coming towards, and when I see a vehicle at the junction, someone said to me once, look at the driver's eyes, but I always look at the wheels, because the eyes don't tell me he's moving or going to move. The wheels give you the first indication. Take it, is that something you would support? Or
yeah, no, 100%. The wheel, any movement of the wheel, any movement of the person's head, maybe they're looking in the mirrors, that might give an indication that they're about to move off, or even their hand movements on the steering wheel. If they're beginning to steer, there's a good indication that they're about to move off as well. So we really teach that all the time, is look at their eyes, look at their head movements, hand movements, and the wheel movements itself.
And I always roll off just a little bit, just reduce your speed, even 5 miles an hour. If something does go wrong, it just gives you that little bit more time. And that kind of brings me on to some of the safety stuff you can do. The police run rider refinement to improve your riding skills. You've got ROSPA, IAM, all run courses to improve your riding skills. I didn't do it until I was 20 years riding. And then it was my boss, Brenda Mitchell, said, why not? And I'm glad I did, because I learned so much. Do you have any guidance? When is the best time in your riding career to do something like that?
I'm not so sure there's a best time to do it. I mean, I would totally tell people to go out there and do it, because even for myself, I ride a bike, every single day in my work. But you begin to get rusty. Sometimes people begin to get a bit lazy with stuff. So, going back on a refresher course, it gives you the additional skills that you may have just lost since you did your initial training course. So I would encourage anybody to do any form of training. That small bit of training might just save your life. It might just give you that one thing that gives you that ability to, react to something on the roadway one day. So I would encourage anybody to do it.
Yeah, it's relatively low cost as well. I mean, you're spending 400 or 500 quid on a crash helmet, but for, what is it, 60 quid for rider refinement and a couple of £100 for IAM stuff. It's well worth it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's loads of different training courses out there. Obviously, the police one that we run is rider refinement, but there's loads of other courses out there that, as you say, they're fairly cheap in terms of what a motorcyclist will pay through the year to continue motorcycling, and it may just give you that skill that you need. You
can do it for nothing on YouTube. You can see a lot of video on YouTube, which I've done. I've looked at loads of video, some of it produced by serving or ex-police officers, all hints and tips on how to keep yourself safe, because let's face it, there's loads of people out there who aren't thinking about us, so I think we've got to think about ourselves. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, any sort of tip that you can get in terms of making yourself safe, reducing the likelihood of being involved in a collision is the best thing. You know, whether that be through YouTube, speaking to police officers when they're out and about, we're more than happy to, you know, have a chat about stuff. Or if you want to go on a training course itself, you'll get loads of good information from them.
And that kind of brings me on to the misconception, because I know you guys a bit better now, but the misconception that police motorcyclists are only out to get you, whether it's small number plate or a noisy can or doing a wheelie up the high street. But that's not really all of it. You know, that obviously comes into it. If you're behaving like that, then, you know, you can't. But there's much more to police motorcyclists, I've found. Are you quite happy for bikers to stop and have a chat with you at the roadside like we're doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Part of our job is to actually go out there and engage with motorcyclists. It's not about, you know, trying to catch them out for different bits and pieces. Yes, as you said, if somebody does something wrong in front of us, then we will, you know, speak to them. We may deal with it by enforcement, but just to give, you know, some sort of comfort, I mean, in terms of the actual vehicles that we stop on a daily basis, probably about 95% of the vehicles we stop are car drivers, van drivers, HGVs. It's not motorcyclists that we're going out and targeting. Our core role is about motorcycle safety. So if we can speak to somebody, if we can try and, you know, give them a bit of hints or tips to try and keep them safe or prevent them doing something, then we'd much rather that than, you know, go down the enforcement route. But really it's all about engagement. So throughout the year we will have various engagement days, whether it be at, you know, prime motorcycle locations or roads. Then we'll travel to those locations with the key thing of trying to engage with people.
Prime markings, is that the kind of slippy paint that you'll get on the roads normally, or is it different to that?
So it's different to that. So the paint that's put down for prime markings, it's a high friction material. It's designed to give the best grip, so it doesn't impact on tyre adhesion for it. So primarily they're designed so that the motorcyclist will ride between the gate. It's to put them in a better position, and all the feedback that Transport Scotland is getting is that it's actually 40,000 motorcyclists who have ridden through these prime markings, and it's putting the motorcyclist in a better position, but it's also slightly reducing their speed, which also is a real positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that we hear about quite a lot, we don't get involved in it per se, but we hear about it, is motorcycle theft. It's an age-old problem, but I'm just wondering, would you have any advice as to how best to secure your bike, where to put it overnight? And the other thing is tracker devices. You see them advertised quite a bit now. Is it worth having them, or are they of any use to you guys if the bike's stolen?
So I mean, yeah, I think there's no getting away from it that motorcycle theft is rising in sort of city environments. You know, your big cities within Scotland, we are seeing a lot of motorcycle theft quite often through the summer months, and unfortunately it does impact on quite a lot of tourists who are coming to Scotland, which is not something that we want. So I'd always encourage people to, you know, if they can, lock the motorcycle away in a garage overnight, keep it out of sight. That's the best thing that can be done, is keep it out of sight itself. But if you're not able to keep it out of sight, chain it up, you know, put a chain through the back wheel, disc locks if you can. In terms of tracker devices, absolutely, you know, you can buy small tracker devices that you're able to then track the motorcycle on your phone, various different sort of manufacturers of them. In terms of a policing thing, we don't have any link to that itself, but you know, if your motorcycle gets stolen and if you're able to tell us where that motorcycle is, then that's got to be a good thing.
Excellent, excellent. And another question that we're asked quite a lot is in relation to helmet cam, or indeed dash cam footage. We deal with all types of road traffic collisions, including car accidents, etc. So if I have that kind of equipment fitted and it captures a collision, maybe I'm not involved in it, maybe I'm a witness, or it might be my mate that's been involved in it. Is there rules in relation to handing that over to you guys, or must I do that?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a difficult one. I mean, we are, you know, if we're investigating something, then we always have to go with the best available evidence to us, and a lot of the time that is dashcam itself. So by law, yes, we can seize that as a production for court, but what I would say is we would only do that if it was a real serious issue, you know, maybe it be a fatal motorcycle collision or a fatal road traffic collision, then we would look to seize that dashcam footage. We would look to get that as soon as we can, because obviously if we don't get that as soon as we can, there is a risk that evidence might disappear. So in real, you know, serious issues, we can seize it as a court production. But if it's just a general day-to-day matter, I would say we're not really interested in seizing dashcam unless we really have to. Totally appreciate that people have paid a lot of money to get dash cams, helmet cams itself, so what we don't want to do is annoy people by just seizing it for a minor issue. We wouldn't do that on that occasion. It would have to be something fairly serious.
Would I be right in thinking that by kind of chatting about it, we could arrange that you guys could copy that and give me back a copy or the original at some point?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, we would never do something like that for a minor issue and, you know, have you without your GoPro, your dash cam. In that situation, we would always try our best to get that back to you as soon as we can.
At Junctions quite a lot now, these boxes with a bicycle painted in them. Normally there's a cycle lane coming up and then you've got this box, I don't know, maybe 8 feet deep at a set of traffic lights. Obviously it indicates it's for cycles. What's your view on a motorcycle using that to get ahead of the traffic?
Yeah, so I mean, they're there placed for cyclists, and it's really so that the cyclists can move off from stationary on their own, so they're not beside vehicles, maybe having to clip into pedals. As the cyclist moves off, they may wobble about as well, you know, just going from stationary. So they're primarily designed for a cyclist. So what I would say is for the motorcycles not to use them. You know, the motorcycle should stop at the stop line itself and not go into the actual cycle box junction. They are primarily designed for cyclists themselves.
Okay. And the other thing that I've done, I've got to admit, I've come upon pieces of the road where the lanes are separated and there's broken white lines and the crosshatch, I would call it, with coloured tar, sometimes red, sometimes green. I've used that to overtake slower moving traffic. Am I fortunate that you've not been seeing me doing that?
Potentially. So obviously the highway code states that you should not enter that area unless it is an emergency. If it was bordered by a solid white line, that's completely different in that you should not, or you must not, enter that area. So what I would say is, you know, if you're using your observations, then we ideally don't want to enter into that area because it essentially isn't an emergency. But if something develops in front of you that you really have to go into that area, then that is fine. You know, it's obviously an emergency situation, so you have to move away from something, and that's totally fine. But what I would say is try and avoid doing that as a matter of course. You know, try and avoid getting into the habit of using that area.
I'm fortunate enough to be heading off for a kind of 10-day motorcycle trip with a couple of mates, and a lot of that riding is going to be in the countryside. We've seen a lot of collisions occurring at junctions in the countryside, so you're not talking big major city junctions with traffic lights, we're talking access roads to a village or a farm or whatever. What kind of things should I be looking out for, and indeed should I be overtaken anywhere near there?
Yeah, so I mean, unfortunately this year we have had quite a lot of collisions where motorcycles have overtaken vehicles and then that vehicle has maybe turned into a junction. So I think it's something that is out there happening on the roads. What I would say is, you know, to motorcyclists is just take their time. If you're maybe approaching a junction, you'll have various signage in place for it. So you might have an advanced direction sign telling you about a junction. If that advanced direction sign isn't there, then you probably then will have a warning sign for the junction, indicating the junction maybe to the right hand side. Yeah. If there's then a car in front, then maybe think that car might take that junction. Just hold back, just take your time. You can always then think about overtaking the car once you're past the junction. Also, you can look at the centre lines on the road, so there might be hazard warning lines, long markings and short gaps. That tells you there's a danger coming up. Or there might be solid white lines which you shouldn't be overtaking on anyway. But what I would say is just hold back, take that extra 5 seconds, wait until the car's past the junction and then think about overtaking. Yes, there is the onus on the car driver to check the mirrors before turning right. But I think, you know, it's really important we know that it is happening out there in Scotland's roads, that, you know, these incidents are happening. So what I would say to motorcyclists is just take their time, hold back and wait till they're past that junction.
All great advice, but the other thing I've noticed as well is these white kind of posts, bollards, whatever you want to call them, at either side of an unmarked junction, like an access road to a farm or something. It's just something else to look out for, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it would be lovely to have the luxury of all the signage on every single junction, but sometimes if it's a really sort of minor junction, maybe a farm track or just a house itself, then there should be white marker posts indicating the junction, and generally they'll have a reflectorised top to them, so that during the night they can still be identified.
Thanks very much for your time today. We know how busy you are. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.